Hello. Today I'm going to talk to you about Echo, the most recent bottle in Aura-Soma. Here is the bottle. It's pale coral, pale violet, B118, that's a 118. And it's a reversal of Sandalphon, which is bottle 98, pale violet, pale coral. And that's going to be part of the beginning of this talking with you. I think Echo is about finding one's voice. You see, it's a funny thing. Echo implies that there's another one. Something's gone out in order for something to come back again. And when Echo was born, it seemed people were talking about Sandalphon. And strangely, or maybe not strangely, I was teaching a course about taking students through an archangel process at the time of Echo's birth. And we were literally just started the Sandalphon week. So that was very significant for me personally as well. When the new bottle came out, I quite soon managed to buy a couple, and I brought them back to my house, and I took some photographs of the new bottle. And what I found is that when I take photographs, they can be quite revealing. And I've come in retrospect, looking back, to see that these photos I took, I can find a story within them. I've taken out some key photos of that story, and I'm going to show them to you now, and I'm going to talk you through the story to give you an idea of how I see the bigger picture of Echo. What I'll give you as a clue now before I start is, I think Echo is about finding one's voice, finding our voice again. Echo lost her voice, so it's a case of refinding our voice. But I think it's something more than that as well. I think Echo is also about finding our true nature, our essential being. And that goes in a way towards the idea of the coral in Aura-Soma, which is the pale coral, which I show you here, bottle 87, the top fraction, is the hermit in the return of the hermit on the tree of life. And the hermit is the one who wishes to know himself, not just find his voice, but to know himself. And when you see the image of the hermit, he stands, eyes closed, but holding a lantern up. He's shining his light out into the world. He's sharing his being, revealing his being to the world. And I think that's the next level of Echo, to find our voice, but also to remember our being, and through that, of course, then we can come to this hue of coral, which I've shown a couple of times before now, which is it's the grounding of a new kind of community. Grounding because it's the hue. And in the top fraction, you can see the gold there, which is the gold of the soul consciousness rather than the ego consciousness. So I think that's where it's going towards. And this idea of Echo, this is really fascinating. If you think that, so in the mythology of Echo, she loses her voice and then she loses her body. And so and it's Gaia, Earth herself, who takes pity on her and somehow preserves Echo's presence in the reflection of sound, in the sounds of the wild, in the wind, in the leaves, in the echoing places. We can hear a fragment of her voice. Or is it a fragment of another's voice? Because our experience as we go into nature is an echo. It's been created by something else and then comes back to us. It's a reflected sound. And I think this is very key in relation to Sandalphon. I'll say this as well before we get to the pictures. Sandalphon for me is pale violet, let's show it again, pale violet, pale coral. Sandalphon is about surrendering something. Violet is a surrendering color. It's opposite to the yellow, and the yellow is the color that holds identity. So in a way, what's being surrendered is identity, a surrendering of self. And what's that connected to? In the base fraction coral, to be part of something. Surrendering to be part of something. One example of that would be marriage. When you choose to get married, you surrender something of your own autonomy in order to be part of something bigger, a relationship with another. And each person will make compromises sometimes on what they want in order to do things together as a married couple. Or in the case of when Sandalphon was born, what was happening in the world of Aura-Soma was that the practitioner system, which was in development for a year and a half, 2 years, was at the moment of completion. And I was involved in that project, and we were right on the cusp, on the point of saying this is complete now. And it was the morning that this bottle was born. There was a meditation course at Devora. Mike was offering a meditation intensive, and I found a rose in the garden, and I took a photograph of it, because as soon as I saw it, I thought, that's the cover we need. That's the picture we need for the cover of the practitioner guide. And I took that photo. That rose did become the original cover of the practitioner guide. And the practitioner guide was an invitation for all those people who'd done the Aura-Soma training previously, who thought of themselves as rainbow warriors because Vicky had said, now go out in the world and share Aura-Soma. Suddenly, all these people found that they were being asked to agree to something, in a way to surrender something of their individual liberty in order to create a stronger family of Aura-Soma practitioners. So that was a very concrete example of surrendering something, surrendering in order to be part of something. When we're born, I'm looking for that picture actually. I don't have it to hand, so you can't see it. When we come to Earth, and Sandalphon is about coming to Earth, when we come to Earth as a soul in a body, and now we've become the baby, and we're born into this world, and Sandalphon in the Tree of Life, in traditional Kabbalah, will be the archangel of the sphere of Malkuth, which is the very bottom of the tree. It's the material world into which we're born. So Sandalphon is about the world into which we incarnate. In the Aura-Soma paths, it's the path that leads into Malkuth, so it's more almost the same thing. It's the process of, it represents that time when we come to Earth. Sandalphon, the sound of shoes, as Mike Booth likes to say. When we're born in to this world, one, we forget our spiritual consciousness, maybe not straight away, but it somehow goes in the background because we need to learn about the world in front of us. Who are these people? What are my needs? I need food. I need to be looked after. I need to fit in with this group of people around me. I have to surrender something of myself in order to be part of something, a family, so I can survive in this world. And that's what we do in those early years. But of course, those early years become the middle years. We're a child, we're at school, we find other people our own age. Again, we have to fit in. And by the time we're grown up, 19, which is the number I've been talking about recently, and we're ready to go into the world, well, we've surrendered ourselves quite a lot. We may not even remember who we are. And then all those thoughts that we have in our mind, all those values, all those beliefs, all those, who's to say if they belong to us or they belong to the world which we've been looking at and absorbing for these last 18, 19 years? I remember when I was at school, if anyone asked you who would you vote for in an election, you always said what your parents said. You just take on the attitude, the values of those who are closest to you. And in a way, your words are an echo of someone else's words. And I would say that right now, with the birth of Echo, this concept of this, we have a word echo chamber, and the internet is the classic example of the echo chamber, because what's brought to you is the things you already look at and read, and your point of view tends to be confirmed, but it's the point of view that's being confirmed by many others who think the same as you. It's an echo chamber. And so you think you're making your own mind up, but how much are you making your own mind up? How much are you connected to your inside rather than the sounds of the outside? That's the question. So this question of echo and what echoes in our mind and what we say, is it our own, or is it belonging to did it come from somewhere else? So these are all kind of really key questions at this point in time. But let me go back then to my pictures, and I'll show you the story that showed itself through the photos I took. I'm going to have to share the screen. I'm going to have to choose this one and this one. And now here's my first picture. Some of you may have seen this on Facebook. This actually is not the bottle itself. This is an echo of what it might have been. I took this, actually this photo was taken by placing two bottles, one on top of each other, and then taking the reflection of that. That's what you see there. So it's an energetic picture. This is an energetic picture, which I think fits very well with what happened to Echo in the end. She lost her body. She became something energetic, something insubstantial, woven into the kind of the biosphere of Gaia. So this is the first step. And of course, what I'm suggesting is that Echo is a process of refinding our voice and refinding our being. And here is an energetic part, but not the substantial part yet. So let's go to the next picture. Now I've received the bottles. I bought two of them, and in between you can see Sandalphon. Of course, I've been talking about Sandalphon already, and how it is at that point where that process whereby we lose ourselves, we sacrifice ourselves to a certain extent in order to belong to something bigger. And what you see in the picture is 2 Echo bottles. And the reason I've chosen this picture is because of those lines of light. You see that diagonal shape? At first, I thought that was some kind of echolocation. That's another possible phrase we can look at. Echolocation. When you have lines converging, then where the lines meet, here is something, which in Italian would be echo. Echo is here in Italian. So the idea of finding, through this process of helping to find something, the point where something appears. I had a really interesting conversation with a friend of mine since then, which makes me see this picture in an even deeper way. And that it concerns the fool in the tarot, who's the zero bottle in Aura-Soma, the spiritual rescue. So the 0 is something about spirit. And when you see the picture of the fool in the tarot, you see that he wears these harlequin clothes. Harlequins is kind of diagonal check pattern, which the fool, the jester, would wear traditionally in the king's court. My friend was saying how that diagonal checkerboard shape represents something about materialization. My friend had experience of being a mime artist. So he was an actor, a street theatre actor, and he would dress as this harlequin. And he said it was very strange, very powerful experience, because you're not yourself, you're being. Well, these are deep questions, aren't they? What is it that's being grounded? You're wearing a suit that allows you to be something, but is there something you, or is it something else? Deep questions. But it's the process of spirit, 0, stepping into matter, becoming something. So this was an important picture, because that's what I'm suggesting is the deeper process that Echo represents here. If you remember, the outward journey of Sandalphon is 20, the star child, the spiritual being that steps into this material world through a physical body, through a human twin, our human self, through which the spiritual self shines. So this is in a way the spiritual self that's being triangulated, appearing even behind or within the human self that's learned how to fit into this world. Let's go to the next picture. A feather. This feather, when I was taking the photographs, this feather fluttered down, and I tried to take a photo in the moment, but I was really focusing on the bottles. Later, I looked down at my trousers and I saw the feather had landed on my trousers. So I took a photograph of it. So this feather appeared whilst I was filming the new bottle. And so I've decided to put one of the new bottles next to the feather. I took quite a few pictures like that. This one, you can also see my foot in the background. And that's also, I want to include this picture because now you have this idea of, so the feather is like the angel part, the angelic part. And then of course the foot grounded is like Sandalphon. That's like the foot upon the earth, the materialization. So here we have a picture of like the angel becoming the human, you see, which is part of the Sandalphon process. And Echo is the redemption of the Sandalphon process, the remembering of what came before. the incarnation. But this is the process of stepping in. Let's go on further. When I'd taken my photographs of the feather, I brought it back onto the, I took it off my trousers and I put it on the table again between these two bottles. Not so easy to see here, but this is a video. When I press play, you'll see the feather get blown by the wind, and I tried to take a photo of that and it falls to the grass. You'll see. There it goes. But didn't go as far as I thought, and now the feathers landed on the grass. So that made me think, well, I'll bring the bottles down, my 2 Echo bottles now, and I'll put them on the grass next to the feather, which is what I did. Took several pictures of that. I've chosen this one. Most pictures look more or less like this, but the light, you can see the light? Yes, you can see the light here. And also, I had another bottle lying down. This second bottle, the lying down bottle, became very attractive to me. I didn't notice in the beginning, but as I took more photos, I began to realize what an amazing light there was in this lying down bottle. If you look at the grass around, you'll see there's no sunlight on the grass, but somehow, especially that lying down bottle, it caught the sunlight. The light, it was filled with light from within. So I began to become more interested in that, until finally I got a picture like this. What I'm talking about here is echo is not just finding our voice, it's also remembering our being. And this bottle, it's landed on the ground, on the grass. I had this whole process. The feather helped me to bring the bottles from the table down, ultimately onto the grass, even lying down. But this lying down bottle, which should be so material, and we think of the material as dead, let's say, you know, when the soul leaves the body is simply physicality. But here, this bottle, though it's lying down, is full of light. It's in a way spirit in matter. It's light in matter. And this goes back to the idea of the hermit I mentioned, I think, earlier in this video, the hermit who turns away from the world in order to remember his true self. And in the remembering of his true self, he finds his light, which is what you see in a tarot card, where he stands with shining a lantern out to the world. His eyes are closed, but he shines a light into the world. And that light, in a way, is his beingness. And this bottle is full of light. It's like remembering our beingness. We may have fallen to earth, but we can remember our spiritual nature. And forgive me if I said this before, I've practiced a couple of times before I started filming. So here's the coral again. This is bottle 87. This is the return of the hermit. The one who looks to remember himself or herself. But the master that goes with the coral, I guess I'm going to have to come out of this for a second. Come back to me. So here's the coral in the top fraction of Echo. This coral is the return journey of the hermit, the one who seeks to remember his own nature. The master that goes in the coral is Sanat Kumara. This is a pale pink, pale yellow, somewhat faded, unfortunately. But in some ways then, this pale pink, pale yellow is similar to the red gold, which is bottle 40 in Aura-Soma, which has the name I Am. And I often think that the pale pink, pale yellow, which is a light version of the I Am bottle, this is a spirit, this is another I Am, but it's the lighter version, the spiritual I Am. So the hermit is wishing to remember his spiritual I Am, his spiritual beingness. And Echo, the bottle Echo, is in the top fraction, vibrating with that message, or that beingness. That's the resonance of the top fraction. Remember your spiritual self. And in the base fraction, you have Saint Germain. And Saint Germain is the one who helps you to let go of identity. So if we're wedded, if we're invested in our human identity, then this is helping to let go of the human identity, or the outer identity. Let's say the outer identity, the identity you show to the world, the identity you developed when you're in the period of Sandalphon and you had to fit into this world. And so you end up mouthing, echoing all the things that you've heard that you then repeat back to the world, right? And you forget your own voice. And so this is a process of remembering your own voice, remembering what it is from within you as you let go of your outer identity with the help of Saint Germain. And then you come to the remembering, or the answer to the question of who am I truly, which is the top fraction, the coral, in which is the spiritual I am. So I think that this echo is at a deeper level. It's about to remember our spiritual self. And it's funny because echo is kind of, in the beginning, you start off thinking that I don't know what's true. I just hear echoes and things coming back to me. But in the end, we have to find our point of origin. What comes out, rather than the echo coming back, we have to find what comes out from us. That will be our deeper truth. That's what would allow us to take our place to create the coral, the grounded coral community of soul beings, the gold in the top fraction. There's always more to say. Let me just see if there's anything I really need to say. I'll show you one more thing. Because even as Echo was being born, I'd been through this, I was teaching this Archangel course, this Archangel process, let's say. I call it Gateway to Life. And in my own process of that week, I'd actually created an amethyst cave just before Echo was born. I created something in my garden which features an amethyst crystal cave, which, remember, is the name of the hermit bottle, number 9, the crystal cave. And I'll just show you that. So here. There it is. That was the crystal cave in my back garden. And then that was the Wednesday. On Thursday, Echo was born. And on Friday, I had some new lights fitted to the front of my house. 2 of them, in fact. And and I just thought, wow, that's amazing. I've created, without realizing, I've created this kind of hermit energy in my garden, the crystal cave at the back of the garden. And now this light being shone out at the front, just like the hermit. So the hermit does seem to be very much bound into this new bottle Echo in some way. And it's very synchronistic that I should have been living through something like that in my own life at that time. So let me just recap on that. So an interesting sequence of pictures. I think that the Echo in the first instance is something insubstantial. She loses her voice, she loses her body. She's saved by Gaia, but she's scattered to the 4 corners of the earth, the winds of the world. She's an energetic presence, but not really physical. We're born out of the spiritual world into this world. In coming to this world, we have to let go of our spiritual self to a certain extent, because we need to fit into this world. That's the process of Sandalphon, which is the reverse of the Echo that's more recently been born. So here is a letting go of our spiritual identity. Echo, who starts off as something that's lost, is the process of recovering our spiritual identity. I think the vibration of Pan of the previous bottle is helping us to remember, to awaken. And this time of lockdown is a chance for us to come closer to ourselves again and not be so busy being who we normally are in the outside world. We have a chance to remember, to reconnect with what's our inner truth, so we can shine our light again. That's all. I'm going to stop now. Surely too long. Thank you very much. If you like it, please like. Please subscribe if you'd like to subscribe. And hopefully I'll see you on another video. Many thanks.